stay different. Like early in life, I used to try to like fit in, and when I was always just weird. So like it wasn't until I went to college that I embraced being weird. But like it just made childhood and being a teenager twice as hard when it shouldn't have been, when I should have just embraced being weird.
Yeah, I think I'm still figuring that out for myself now, especially at Howard. There's so many creatives and people that think like me where I'm like, oh, I actually can be myself and it's okay. You know?
Yeah, you just got to allow yourself to be. You won't even know if these people are compatible with you unless you are you. Like one of the greatest things about myself is I never had to fit in. Like I was dressing like this at 18, getting clowned. So like to have those same people hitting me up to make them suits or to style them 20 years later. Right. So like, just stay yourself.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall in place. And you go.
If you on God.
Hi everyone, welcome to Perfect Timing Podcast. I am your host, Sydney Chamonix, and this is the Reboot. I'm so excited that we're here. For all of you guys that have helped me come and make it to this part and to this sequence of my journey, I'm just so blessed and I'm so fortunate. And most of you guys know that have been here since 2020 know that this started in a closet and now I'm in a live studio space. And so what a blessing it is to see this in the real life, to see, you know, the way my story has grown, to see the way my community has grown. And again, just thank you so much. Woo, I don't want to get emotional. Whoa. Thank you guys for showing your support, showing your care, even if it's just something small. You know, most of you know that I just want to take a year break for my first year at Howard University, and now I'm in the middle of my second year at Howard, and I knew it was time to bring this back up, and we've reached a lot of valleys, but now we're at the top of the hill, it seems like, and it's been such a blessing again to be in this space and keep it real. So thank you all for being here for the ride. You know, the journey and the mission is just the same. We're amplifying the voices of Generation Z and exposing them to all communities surrounding to let others know my age and beyond what their potential is and how they can reach their dreams as I meet people and introduce you guys to people who I find truly remarkable. So I'm going to go ahead and start today's episode with my very first guest. His name is Donovan Woodberry. I'm going to give you a slight introduction, even though like he has a whole huge plethora and a resume that would take me hours to read, but here's a little introduction. So Donovan Woodberry he's a visionary founder and CEO of Melanin Con, which is a dynamic summit that stands at the news of millennial and Gen Z Black excellence. With a passion for empowering young Black entrepreneurs under 34, Donovan has built a platform that unites culture, community, and commerce while driving real-world impact through innovative branding and experiential marketing. His unwavering commitment to mobilizing the voiceless and bringing brown youth into the room, love that, has established him as a respected leader and trailblazer in the Black business community. Everyone, please help me give a warm welcome to Donovan Woodberry. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Reboot.
Thank you. I'm honored.
How are we feeling?
Blessed. What about yourself?
I'm fine. You know, I'm excited. I could like jump off the walls at the moment, but I'm going to stay calm. So tell me, like, I know that we met at the HBCU Universe summit that they were having a few weeks ago at Morgan State University. And so my mom said she didn't want me to bring her up, but I'm gonna bring her up. She helped me introduce myself to you, and she was going around just yapping and just wanting to tell everyone who had a pulse about me and my impact as I'm growing this new reboot that I have. So yeah.
She sold it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so I just want to, you know, do a little deep dive into, you know, your background. You know, you have Melanin Con 2025 coming up this year, and so let's start there. What does that look like? What's that process, and where did Melanin Con spark from?
Oh man, it's a backstory, but
okay.
I'll make it short. Melanin Con started because I was inspired by Afrotech, Culture Con, Comic Con, all those things, but those things catered to a specific group. And I wanted my conference to cater to everything that I feel like we need to be talking about, from creatives to politics to financial awareness. I wanted it to be a national meeting of Black minds. And I shot a shot and it worked out. So now we still shooting and gathering resources for it.
Wow. Yeah. And that's all you can do, right? Just shoot your shot. Some people that are looking to get into entrepreneurship are like, you know, like, oh, there's other people out there that's already doing what I do. And I promise you, like, people start and stop all the time. So many people after that first year when they start a small business just stop. because they don't see the growth that they want. They don't see the expectation. Being a small business owner, like, a lot of patience goes into that piece. For like I was saying, like, this started in a closet of my bedroom, in my parents' bedroom, in March, May, June, July of 2020.
Oh,
and
wow.
so for that process to start and be like, what is sponsorships? What exactly is monetization? How exactly do I build a brand? All those things are a learning process. And the beauty of that, and the beauty of my podcast and how I storytell, is that I get exposed to people like you and other people who just want to invest in people like me, as Melanin Con does. It contributes to Generation Z. So I will be attending this year. It's a very slow process, and I'm glad that to see the levels that you've reached, the rooms you've been able to go to, the way that you've been able to expose so many people to join you at Melanin Con. But I kind of want to go back a little bit before, if you're comfortable just sharing like a piece of your life where you were before Melanin Con was even a thought to you.
I won't go too far into it, but always I live by the motto of tragedy to triumph. So that goes back to even when I was born, the doctor said I would never walk. So from the age of 0 to 3 or 4, I was in cast up to my thighs on both feet. My mom said one day I came around the corner, walking alongside the walls in my cast. So even from that, my dad passed when I was 4. Then my mom passed again when I was 15.
Wow.
So like being where I'm at now is just crazy to me. Because like even before, like I went to school like everybody at 18, and I got kicked out of school because I was too busy partying like my second year. So that led me to be homeless for like a day or two.
Okay.
And I went and did Job Corps.
Okay.
I don't know if too many people know what Job Corps is, but it's for high school dropouts to give them a trade. I was already in college, so I just wanted a quick trade to make money. So like my 7th day there, I was jumped and robbed by like 40 people. 40 people. Security guard couldn't even get to me. Said it was just way too many people. They took the shoes and socks off my feet. But like I said, tragedy to triumph. This was a year program. I did a year program in a month. Didn't eat, didn't sleep for 30 days. Complete, certified, graduated.
Wow.
And they tried to say I cheated. They tried to hold me back, keep my check, all of that. But eventually they ended up letting me go. But that led me to when I was homeless in Florida, sleeping on the park bench, working at McDonald's. Every day I would go to the library after I get off work and put off resumes.
Right.
So with those resumes, I would pass them out in the morning to like my regulars. And that got me 3 interviews all the way in Kentucky. And when I got to Kentucky, I got hired on the spot at the Marriott. And that's when my whole life like restarted. So I was able to get back in school, build, graduate. They let me here.
Hello? What a journey. I would say, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't. Like you said, tragedy to triumph, right? Like I feel like you are truly living proof of that, and just tenacity as well. I would have never thought, if I was homeless for 2 days, like to think, okay, how do I pivot? Where do I go from here? But you had that tenacity, you had that strength to be like, okay, where am I gonna go? And then you went to that job training course, and then you finished in a month. Insanery, right? And then you worked at a fast food joint, and then I also wouldn't have thought to just hand out resumes. Like the thought of just let me just see. And again, shooting your shot.
Bro, it was so bad that I even logged on to the local college. What people don't know is the college website has all the staff and employees and their emails. So I emailed everybody all the way down from the head to the janitor my resume to try to get help. And people wasn't replying. They just didn't have no help, but people wasn't replying. So
right.
Always got to shoot your shot.
Right. And so from there, you got to, the Marriott. And so what was that moment for you that sparked, Melanin Con? You were like, I think this is a good idea.
Well, like you and your podcast,
Right.
I just let God do the work. So like I created my larger platform, the Pod Standard. It was just supposed to be a platform where I post about men and women fashion and things I thought was fly. And that turned into the Trayvon Martin trials happened. And now I felt like we too busy worried about what's fly. Like, what about all this
When
extra
there's
stuff?
other stuff going
Do
on.
you know
yeah.
what qualified immunity is, that the cops really can't get prosecuted? So
Right.
I start adding that stuff into my platform, and then the platform just blew up before my eyes, where it was 5,000, then it was 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. It just kept doubling up. And then when I created my gala, the Black Excellence Gala in 2021, originally that was supposed to be 50 people. My friend Brittany Flowers, who's a graduate of UDC, she was battling cancer at the time. Unfortunately, COVID happened, and we kept having to push it back. And she ended up passing away, sadly, during that time. So then DC, DC was the last place to open. So like, it was around about like January. I was like, I still want to do something for her. So let me see if people even interested in having the gala. So I just posted about it, a meme or something, and told people to sign up. 5,000 people signed up. I was like, oh shoot, now I got to have this at an event. And we ended up having it, and it was 450 people.
Wow.
And so with the gala, we give a scholarship out for aspiring social workers in honor of her.
Come on, scholarship.
We donate to a charity called My Sister Place that provides homes for women transitioning out of domestic violent relationships. And we also feed the homeless. So then that event was so large, it went from DC to Atlanta to Charlotte to LA, Houston. And when I came back, I wanted to do it bigger. So I think I saw a post about Afrotech. I was like, I can have my own conference. What would it be called? So I'm running through all the different names, and I was like, I'm gonna call it Melanin Con. That should stick. And it literally was like one of the greatest things I ever did. So
I'm speechless over here. Like, again, tragedy to triumph. You experienced a loss in your life, and I'm sorry. And but it became something beautiful. You're able to make a scholarship out of it. It benefited other communities. You were tag teaming and collaborating with communities to get women, like you said, out of domestic violence situations. That is such a beautiful way to show that growth in that transition.
Even something as simple as when I started Posh Packages, which is my Feed the Homeless program, I get real bad seasonal depression.
Me
So
too.
like that December, I was like, instead of getting seasonal depression, I'm gonna go feed the homeless. And I think I had like $50, and I was like, what if I asked my followers to donate? Will people even donate? I ended up raising like $1,200.
Right.
So that's how I created the Posh Packages, but it was just for the specific community around Union Station. But when I had Melanin Con last time around, we not only fed one pocket, we fed multiple pockets. So we fed everybody from H and Benning all the way back to Ivy Cities, 3 different homeless shelters, along with the people that was outside. So it just kept doubling up.
Right. It's beautiful to see how your community comes in. Because when I started my podcast, during the pandemic, again, motivated by my mom, because she was like, you're not staying in this house doing nothing, so what can you do to give back to the community? And I'm like, I don't know, because I was a ballerina at the time. Like, perfect timing was not a thought. Like, I wanted to be the next Misty Copeland. No one was going to tell me any different. And she was like, why don't you start a podcast? I'm like, I have no idea what that is. Sure, let's do it. And it became one of the, as you can see, greatest undertakings I've ever been able to experience,
That's
So
dope.
I want to ask you about your, support system. Who was around you, that helped get Melanin Con to where it is today?
Initially, the first half of my life, I would just say my angels and my mom and dad. I was so intrinsically motivated to my dad, I don't remember a conversation with him, but I do remember the conversations with my mom and stuff that we talked about, and you never really know how strong that drive is. So that kept me going to where I was like, it's no other option than forward. And then I just kept building. So I was always a loner to myself through everything. That's how I was able to finish the Job Corps. I'm just by myself working.
Yourself, yeah.
So along the way though, when I got back in college the second time, I became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Okay. So that's a unlimited brotherhood of people that's willing and ready if I call to ask. So even again, when I moved here, everything was cool, but then the job I was working at, Nomadic Real Estate, found out about my brand, the Posh Standard, and they said that exclusion of people which I only post about black people. And they said exclusion is racism. So they fired me. And I think I was only homeless for like an hour.
Okay.
The Howard Kappas moved me into the Kappa house.
Okay.
For a year until I got back on my feet.
Shout out Howard Kappas.
Until I got back on my feet. So like
wow.
having friends and things like that along the way, like even with Melanin Con, that year that I was building it, I used to go to random networking events that had nothing to do with me. I'm at beauty networking events, real estate, art, like all these different events, just meeting people. So then Melanin Con was all those people I met filled into one space, mingling. So I would say the community supported me when I needed them to.
Yeah, clearly. And, you know, and again, shout out, you know, the Kappas in your brotherhood, you know, when you felt like there was no one, you know, super close to you, you know, family-wise, you know, you were able to step out into another space and be like, let me reach out to them, let me try and support them. And that's why I think, you know, they've always supported, you know, or like when they go out, because I see them on the yard all the time, but, you know, like they always support that brotherhood because it truly is like that. And I think that you are, again, a testament to what that brotherhood looks like and how they're dedicated to making sure, like, no, like, I'm going to get you back on your feet. You know, I'm going to make sure that you're in a place where you can continue. And now you're in a place where Melanin Con has blown up and you've exposed so many communities again to what it is you do. And again, some people are probably showing up to Melanin Con, they're like, this has nothing to do with me. But they're meeting people and they're getting exposed to, you know, areas where they want to get involved. And so I'm astonished, and, you know, and I'm so proud of the journey that you've been on and how you've been able to sit here with me today and live to tell that story. And it was
touch and go a few of the time through along the way.
Absolutely. But thank you so much, Donovan, for joining me in this first half, and thank you to my listeners for joining me. This has been a wonderful conversation. In the second half, we're really going to dive in deeper into what Melanin Con is as a foundation and how he's been able to grow and expand from that. And we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everyone. Again, I'm here with Donovan Woodberry. He's the founder and CEO of Melanin Con, and so we're going to dive back into, you know, what it is that Melanin Con has been founded on, and obviously we've heard of his incredible journey and testimony on how he got to where he is. So let's get back into it. But before we do that, you know, everyone knows I'm like a very huge mental health advocate. And so when you shared, you know, you had like seasonal depression and everything, I struggle with the exact same thing all the time. Like, you know, even this morning, I'm like, all right, let's go, you know, and just like amping myself up to be like, you know, let's get out of bed. There's places to be. And, you know, if I had decided to stay in bed, we wouldn't be able to have this beautiful conversation we're having right now, you know. So continuing to push forward, you know, even through our, you know, mental health crises and things of that nature. But I always try to have a segment when I have my podcast, and you are my very first one. Again, congratulations. And just talking about, I want to ask you, you know, what have you done for yourself for self-care this week?
For self-care, we whipping right now with Melanin Con and working a full-time job and Trump shenanigans. Like, I work for the federal government on a daily, so like balancing everything I do with work is always a task. I took myself to happy hour last night. That was cool.
Yeah, why not? You know, just take yourself out.
So, in my house, I have a board. So maybe like a few years ago, I was actually about to kill myself. When I lost that job that I said they took away, I was literally about to drive off a bridge. I Googled it, planned it, and everything. I was going to drive off the bridge, going to Ocean City. Wow. And I got in my car, and God works. So I got in my car, and my line brother called me. And we just talked like it was a regular day. And it was meant to be a 10-minute conversation. It was like 2 hours. So then I was sitting in the car after we hung up the phone. I was like, dang, this gonna be the last dude I talked to. And I was like, dang, if I go, I have to deal with that. But if I go in the house, I have to do things to where I would never be in that space again. So like, I started listening to motivational speakers like Les Brown every single morning, TD Jakes every single morning. And I've been doing that for 5 years now. So like on my board, it's a list of mental health awareness things, even something as simple as making your bed, because getting out of depression is as easy as routines. So making up your bed in the morning, washing your face, like all those things add up, and you create positive habits after the 30 days. So to answer your question, I have all these habits that I've been doing for 5 years consistently every day.
Yeah, and you know, I would watch other podcasts, you know, like, how do I get out of this space? Why am I so anxious all the time? You know, especially what you said, like with the political and social climate that we're in, like I am anxious all day, every day, especially at Howard University, you know, with everything else going on. And, you know, I have the podcast and like all the other hats that I wear. It's so easy to be like, I don't do this anymore. I just want to sit down. I would just want to go to bed, close my eyes, and just hope they don't open up and back up again. It's so easy to get into that headspace. But, you know, like I said, I would listen to podcasts, and it would be, you know, why am I so anxious all the time? And, you know, when I was listening to, they had a professional on there just talking about, you know, how to take agency back over your life. And it was just that, you know, just making up your bed every day. You know, some people, and I'm very much a victim of this, just being like, I'm just going to go to the gym 3 times this week, or I'm going to make myself cook myself dinner, you know, 3 nights this week. So just these kind of elaborate things. Like I'm going to journal every night. You know, I'm going to go here, like all these things, trying to like force myself back into socialization, going back into, I guess, a regular routine. But very quickly we find out we get so burnt out, you know, and we're like, nah, I don't want to go to, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Next week we know it's Saturday again and we have to do it all over again next week.
And I'm telling you, you have to make sure you take that time, because the last Melanin Con was in 2023.
Right.
And it was supposed to be last year in 2024. And then with everything I had going on, I felt myself spiraling into them suicidal thoughts again. I was like, oh, heck no. So I took the whole year off from events, everything. I canceled everything. And some people was mad, but most people were supportive. And that's how we got back to this year, because this was actually supposed to be last year.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the same thing with me. You know, I couldn't pump the brakes on everything, but I kind of did the opposite. All summer, I was just on go. I was traveling for 5 weeks straight by myself. I had never done that before, you know, and again, my mom's my manager, so she's usually with me in all these places. So half of them were internships, half of them were events, others were just visiting family. But, you know, by the time I visited family, like I was so exhausted and burnt out, I came home, and then like a week later, I had to move in for school, you know, and then by the beginning-ish of September, like I got into that range of like, this is exhausting. Like I don't like, because I never sat with myself to like address, like, you know, did you really take care of yourself this summer and did what you wanted to do? While everything kind of benefited me, you know, socially and entrepreneurially wise, it's just like, have you taken the moments and steps to be like, is this what you want to do, you know? And then we were in the process of building the podcast up again. And so I don't know if you ever heard of that sound on Instagram, on TikTok, but I had made this video, and, you know, I was like, shoot, perfect timing was supposed to happen again this fall in 2024. But God had other plans. You know, now here we are in 2025, and I'm like, everything happens for a reason, you know? And that process where you say, like, God is real, so people will show up and be like, Sydney, take this moment to breathe. Take this moment to have a break. What do you want perfect timing to look like, you know? And after you've rested, try again and get back into that space.
I'm telling you, I did the stuff that I have for Melanin Con this year, it was nowhere near what was going to happen last year.
Right,
so, like,
exactly.
I was like,
it ends up being better than what you thought.
Yes, taking that time to like get back to me was so necessary. But what I learned was regular life ain't for me. Like that boringness killed me. Like every day I get up at 3:00 every day. I send emails, set up posts for Melanin Con and all my other different platforms. Then I have to be to work at 5.
Right.
And then from 5 to 2:30, I'm at work. So then I immediately get off. I'm literally on the metro on Zoom calls, because immediately I have to put on Melanin Con hat again, the pot standard hat. And more importantly for me was learning how to categorize everything, like schedules. So I want to do all these things. I wanted a full plate, but it's how I process the food and everything on my plate, that's on me.
Right.
But I actually wanted the plate.
Right. Is all the food on your plate what you want to eat? You know, I'm not really like, you know, you get like wings, you get like carrots and celery with it.
You ain't got to eat everything.
Right. I'm
once.
not a celery girl. I'll be like, I don't need the celery, you know, and that celery thing might be unimportant in my life, but I think I need it, you know?
Categorize is very important when it comes to mental health and running a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so back to, you know, Melanin Con, you know, you have 6 pillars, and I want you to, you know, course, share what those are, and how is that coming into play for Melanin Con 2025, and what can we expect?
Well, I would say overall, everything with Melanin Con is about us, kind of the FUBU method, for us, by us. And I didn't even know that intimidates people until this week. People telling me they can't support the event because it's considered a DEI event, or they can't put their name over it because it's considered DI and Trump executive orders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never even put myself in that space to even think,
yeah.
oh, wow, I'm just trying to help my people out. So with everything with Melanin Con, of course, commerce and finance. So this time around, because I'm so focused on Gen Z and millennials, we have a initiative where we're putting 50 HBCU students in the space for free. And then just last week, we announced that it's going to be a pitch competition where one student can win $5,000.
Wow.
So a lot of the panels is set to elevate us in different areas. So like the first panel is about what we was talking about, prioritizing mental health while building a Black business.
Yeah.
So the steps and things that you need to do to make sure you stay on task. We have a panel about financial literacy with your student loans. So like a lot of people don't even know how serious student loans are. Like, I couldn't get a promotion this year because of my student loans.
Yeah.
So like, people don't tell you that when you're signing on papers to get those loans. So making sure you know beforehand and afterwards, like, things you need. The different panels about political awareness, like what do we do now, is very important to talk about. How to use your influence to influence others, because everybody's an influencer.
Right.
But who's really influencing? Like, are you telling somebody to buy a shirt, or are you telling somebody why they need to vote? Like,
Right.
Are you telling somebody what kind of shoes to get, or are you telling somebody the importance of community building?
Right.
All of those things are pillars with Melanin Con.
Yeah, and I, again, love the panel on mental health and, how to stay consistent with that as, a business owner, especially as Black people. And what you said about that piece about DEI, we're in a scary time.
Yes.
There's boycotts going on. We can't shop at Amazon. We can't shop at Target. But, these things are necessary and they need to be strategic. And
I feel like I never heard the word DEI as much as I heard it in the past 30 days. Never heard of it.
Insane. And it's just like the pure choice and ignorance of people that, unfortunately have a microphone and a platform that repeat these things. They're like, no, DEI is like what takes businesses down. It's what, it doesn't promote progress, when usually there's other things in the back end that create those issues.
Yes.
And people aren't, especially people my age, I think need to get into that headspace of like, okay, how can I avoid this? I'm like looking up, I'm like, how can I still operate, as a Black woman in America without being afraid of who I am? Like,
but
now
so
I know
unfair.
when you said that, I'm like, shoot, it's perfect timing, a DEI project, but what I'm doing is I'm exposing.
But that's so unfair.
Right.
Like, you should be able just to live as you are.
Right.
Like, now we got to literally think, like, what's my title? Like, if my title is this, it's going to bring off red flags, because you have people in agencies literally changing their work titles so
Right.
they don't get fired.
Right.
Craziest time to live in right now.
Yeah, I saw this TikTok the other day where it was a lot, it's a little bit separate from DEI, but kind of all the same, about, all the federal workers, like getting fired from their jobs if they were on probation and other things. Like, there are people there, they're like the only person in that job who are gone. It's like they work in like aquatics or something like that to make sure that water is safe, in public areas, to make sure it's safe to swim in, make sure it's safe to fish and safe for the, the animals that are actually in there. And they're firing people like that. It's just like, these are jobs that are essential. These are jobs that,
that you don't even think is essential,
Right.
but you need that person there, but you're not even going to know you needed that person until now they're gone.
Right, exactly. But, back to the mental health conversation. If you need like another panelist, let me know. I'm available. So when is Melanin Con this year?
Melanin Con is April 24th through 27th. The actual conference is the 25th.
Okay, perfection.
So and we're working on another bonus event for people to come out.
Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, if you need another panelist, I'm here, I'm available, I'm in the DMV area, But again, if you guys are listening, please come out in April to Melanin Con and see what we have going on and see what else you have exposed to. But, what do you see after Melanin Con? What does Melanin Con 2026 look like if you can even think in that headspace right now?
If you ain't learned nothing, you know that's already got a date. Like it's got a date and a venue already.
Wow.
So just doubling up on amplifying the meaning of Melanin Con so we could get more sponsors and partnerships to build it out bigger than like I said, I see it being the next Afrotech or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was just about to ask you, like, what do you think makes Melanin Con different from Afrotech or Culture Con or even Essence Fest or something like that? Like, what makes it, different? And why do you think it's important to have this, separate from those other events that are, of course, important, but how does yours differentiate the table?
I feel like all those events are great, and like I said, they inspired me. But I feel like they cater to niches of people, and then I know a lot of times with those events, the ticket prices can get out of hand. So everything that I'm doing now is to make sure the ticket prices stay affordable. I think that's one thing that separates my conference because we still have those high level people coming out. But it's not costing you $500 to sit, or you don't have to take a loan out to invest in a ticket to get to these things. So like keeping it super intentional, because every component of Melanin Con is intentional, from promoting to pre-Melanin Con, during Melanin Con, and post-Melanin Con. Everything is super intentional. And I feel like because I poured my life into it, it automatically makes it different and stand out from everybody else.
Absolutely. And that's completely true what you said about the ticket prices and everything, because some people are like us, they're like, I want to go to this event, I want to expose myself and I want to get in the know and network, but unfortunately I cannot afford a $400 ticket to come sit down at this table, to come see what's going on.
Not $1,000 ticket. Like,
especially if they live far away, that's a plane ticket, that's
hotel,
yeah.
So like now you got to take and a lot of people benefits though, so I see why they charge that much, because as I plan mine out, people do not know how much money it takes to have one event, let alone 4. So like everybody want to go to an event, have nice activation and nice things, but only want to pay $20. So it's a constant battle for me. Like, I need to charge them so I have money to build this activation out, but I can't like bust their heads to where it's people don't want to come, or people feel like when people pay that much for tickets, they feel like they have to leave with something. Like, so they're never in a space of relaxation at the event, because now you got to get your investment back. I paid $1,000. I'm leaving here with somebody's job.
With somebody, right?
So,
yeah, and I see the value in that, especially as a college student. Like, I want to be able to go to these events as well. Like I'm the middle child of 5 kids. I got to make sure my budget's looking clean as well. To see where we're at. And before you go, is there any advice that you have for entrepreneurs like myself who either want to host a gala like you did 3 years ago, or host something like a Melanin Con, or just like get to where you are? Like you said, you shared a beautiful testimony about your life, about tenacity and interdependence and just going beyond the spectrum. So I would love to know, what advice do you have for us to, if we feel like we're kind of stuck or in a rut, especially in this political landscape?
More so to lock in, and you got
lock in
because you got to be your Kobe, your Jordan yourself. Like even having a great support system like you have, you have to do it for yourself and figure out these things for yourself. So like, and you never really. A lot of people, they get into a space of having crutches. I unfortunately never had a crutch to lean on, so it was either go or don't. So like, I know a lot of times my friends ask me the same thing. So like, you just have to lock in and keep knocking. Like my mom used to tell me, if you knock, nobody answer, ring the bell. They don't ring the bell, go knock on the back door. If they don't answer the back door, knock on the window. But you getting in that house.
You getting in there.
Like if you believe in it, God wouldn't give you that idea if it wasn't possible.
Right.
God wouldn't put that in you if it wasn't possible. And He already gave you the tools. You just got to figure out how to use it.
So, yeah.
Stay locked in.
Stay locked in. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Donovan, for joining me. This was a beautiful conversation. I've learned a lot, and I'm jumping up the walls excited for Melanin Con this April. But before you go, I always love to do a fun game of rapid fire questions. So I just have like 5 quick questions for you, like quick little jumpers, fun facts about you for me and my audience to get to know you. So are you ready?
Yes.
Buckle up. Okay. What is something that you cannot live without?
Tacos.
Don't get me hyped up. There's a taco joint right across the street. I'm about to hit them up right after this.
Tacos.
If you were a color, what would that color be?
Black.
Why?
Because black has such a negative connotation in life that I hate that. So like, I would like to change. If I was a color, I would want to make you look at black the same way you look at something bright like yellow. Like, it still can be positive even though it's a dark color.
Absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't have thought of it that way. We love changing connotations and changing narratives here. Let's see. If you were to go back in time, or it could be present day, and have dinner or lunch with somebody, dead or alive, who would it be?
My mama.
Yeah.
Yes. I would want her to meet me now, opposed to me when I was 15. I think, well, I know she would be proud of the person I grew up into, and just being able to have a conversation with her about what she envisioned for me and what it actually turned out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, y'all be together one day again, and
yes.
share that story, because I know she's watching now, just giggling. She's so proud. What is your favorite book of the Bible?
Ooh, Genesis.
Okay, why's that?
I just feel it resonate with everything that I've been through and continue to go through, and it embodies me. So.
Yeah, I would say mine is Matthew. I have it like tattooed on the side of my body, but the book of Matthew is why. I think it's just it's a motivator for me, and they have so many aspects and verses in that book where it teaches you how to live. It teaches you, for me, like, I worry a lot. Like, I struggle a lot with anxiety and everything. So the verse I have tattooed is Matthew chapter 6, verse 34, which is, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. So it's just like, just focus on today. Tomorrow will figure itself out. And also just, again, just being patient and staying still and letting God figure it out.
Yeah, I have a pray about it once rule, because if you have to pray about it more than once, you don't have faith. Your faith is praying about that situation and then letting God do what He's doing. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay, last question for you. What would you say? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Stay different. Like, early in life, I used to try to like fit in, and when I was always just weird. So like, it wasn't until I went to college that I embraced being weird. But like, it just made childhood and being a teenager twice as hard when it shouldn't have been, when I should have just embraced being weird.
Yeah, I think I'm still figuring that out for myself now, especially at Howard. There's so many creatives and people that think like me, where I'm like, oh, I actually can be myself, and it's okay. You know?
Yeah, you just got to allow yourself to be. You won't even know if these people are compatible with you unless you are you. Like, one of the greatest things about myself is I never had to fit in. Like, I was dressing like this at 18, getting clowned. So like, to have those same people hitting me up to make them suits or to style them 20 years later. Right. So like, just stay yourself.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall in place. And if you're authentically you, the people you're gonna meet are gonna actually be for you. Versus if you got to put up a front, and now you putting up a front, now the people you attracted putting up a front, and of course y'all gonna fall out.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, thank you, Donovan, for sharing the gems and keys that you've given to me and our audience today. Has just been wonderful, and I hope you guys were taking notes. If I had a notebook with me, I would do the same. But before you go, please let my audience know and listeners how they can reach and follow you, and all the information from Melanin Con, when it is, where it's at, and how they can register.
One of my favorite things now is you can Google me. And you type in Donovan, Melanin Con, Donovan, DC, all that just pop up. But our social medias on everything would be my larger platform, The Pod Standard, official Melanin Con, my nonprofit, A Celebration of Us, me, myself, Dark Skin Gatsby. You can follow me on anything.
Yeah. Remind us again where Melanin Con is going to be at.
The MLK Library in DC.
Okay, perfect. Well, we will see you guys there. Thank you so much again, Donovan, for joining us, and thank you to my listeners for listening. And this is Perfect Timing.